Hello everyone and welcome back to Bring Your Own Popcorn. So, today we are going to be continuing going through my physical media collection. And I thought it would be a fun idea to go through my entire James Bond Blu-ray collection. I have every James Bond movie except Never Say Never Again and the 60s Casino Royale or 70s. Those are the only two Bond films I don't have. But all the other main Eon, as they're called, because that's the company that makes them, the Eon series of Bond films I own. So we're just going to kick this straight off with the first ever Bond film, and that is Dr. No. Yes, Dr. No. Now, every Bond film I own have, well, most of them until we get to the Daniel Craig ones, where the packaging slightly dips for me because all the Bond films previously on Blu-ray came with these nice matching covers and matching spines. They're all really nice and they all have a pretty epic pose that Bond's doing. He's always looking off into the distance with a gun. There are a few where the pose isn't that nice, but I actually really like the cover of Dr. No. It's really nice, I think. At the back, you've got some stills, you've got Bond with Honey Rider there. And then the inside, you get the download code and the disc. All the discs match as well. So there and there. And for the film, I really like Dr. No. I think it's a fantastic opening film, actually. It's a lot of fun. It's obviously dated, very heavily dated, and it's also, you can tell it's on a budget. It didn't have a big budget behind it, but every Bond film has just took this concept and just done it bigger and better, I think. This is the film that really started it all. And yeah, it's a really great film. I really enjoy it. Coming in next, we have Sean Connery's second outing as Bond, From Russia with Love. I really like the cover of this. Really like that. In the back, there's the iconic pose with the gun that Connery does. I think that's on the original poster. As for the film, I don't actually like this one as much as some people. It's quite low down in my Bond ranking, actually. I think Sean Connery is a lot better. He's definitely a lot more at home in the role in this film than Dr. No. But it's just everything before the train sequence at the end, and the train sequence is excellent. It's just slightly forgettable for me. I don't actually really remember much from this movie except from Spectre and the train sequence at the end, which again is awesome. And the opening is pretty cool, where you think Bond is killed, but it's actually, like, you know, the Mission Impossible classic where they like rip the face off and it's a different person. It's that at the start of this movie, which is really cool. I'll quickly show you the inside. All the insides are matching until we get to the Daniel Craig ones. But yeah, and it comes with, every one of these comes with a download code, which is pretty cool as well. But yeah, From Russia with Love, not as good as Dr. No for me. Now, moving on to my personal favourite Sean Connery Bond movie, Goldfinger. I love the poster of this movie. The poster is awesome. The back is awesome with Sean Connery right there. And the film is one of the best Bond films, honestly. You've probably heard a million people say this is a great film, and they're right. From the iconic cars to the iconic women to the iconic villains. Basically, it's an iconic movie. Goldfinger and Odd Job are two of the best villains, I think, in Bond history. Obviously, your introduction to the Aston Martin DB5 with modifications. And this is my personal favourite performance from Sean Connery. This is where he peaked as Bond. And obviously, the Bond girl, Pussy Galore. Iconic. Once again, iconic is the only word to describe this film. There's the inside. Pretty similar. But yes, Goldfinger is one I really enjoy. I would say a solid 8 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10 film for me. I really love this movie. Coming in next is a bit of an underrated Bond film for me. I actually quite enjoy this one. Thunderball. I hate the cover. Sean Connery looks like he's asleep. Genuinely terrible cover. The back's alright. But the movie is actually pretty decent. It's a pretty fun film. This film had production issues, I believe, because there's something about the Thunderball book, which it got taken to court or something, because Never Say Never Again is also an adaptation of the Thunderball book, which is this kind of spin-off Bond film with Sean Connery. But I actually have a lot of fun with this movie. The jetpack's awesome. I actually really like the underwater scenes. This is directed by Terence Young, who done Dr. No and From Russia with Love. Didn't do Goldfinger, but I think this is a terrific return to form for Terence Young after From Russia with Love, which in my opinion wasn't the best. Yeah, I actually really enjoy Thunderball. It's not one of the best Bond movies, not one of the worst. Kind of sits in the middle for me. But yeah, that's Thunderball. Coming in next, we have quite an iconic Bond film, we have to say. You Only Live Twice. Yeah, I enjoy it. It's pretty good. Obviously, Blofeld, probably the most iconic rendition of Blofeld we've gotten. This is where Sean Connery's performance starts to dip for me. You can tell he's starting to not really care, because he doesn't want to be there. He definitely wants to have left the role by now, but there's the front cover. It's a decent front cover. There's the back. And once again, the disc. It's got an iconic kind of volcano layer. However, there is the whole sequence where he goes to Japan and he pretends to be a Japanese person, which, looking back on it, is not the most politically correct thing to do. But for a 1967 film, you can understand why that was okay. And the sequence is actually a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it's a decent film. Again, probably about the middle of my ranking. And the best Blofeld we've ever gotten. Coming in next is an underrated Bond film. A really underrated Bond film. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. George Lazenby's first and only Bond movie. He deserved another. He definitely deserved another. I don't actually think his performance is that great. But I think if you gave him another Bond movie and let him... Because I don't think Dr. No, Sean Connery's performance is that great. But if you gave him another film and let him come into the role and adapt, definitely would have been a much better performance. But the film, I think this is actually one of the best Bond scripts ever. If they'd got a better actor, I think this would have been maybe my favourite Bond film. It is the most emotional Bond movie, I would say, maybe until No Time to Die. It's very, very tragic. No Time to Die actually was very heavily inspired by this Bond movie. If you were to compare it to any of the Ian Fleming original works, On Her Majesty's Secret Service would probably be the closest it is to one of those. But there's the front. Really love the front of this one. There's the back. And once again, the inside. Yeah, it's a great film, really underrated. I would say it's in my top 10 Bond films. I actually really love this movie. And then randomly, Sean Connery came back to the role with his worst Bond movie. Diamonds Are Forever. Now, I will give you, that poster is pretty awesome. I love that. And the back's alright. But his performance is bad. His performance is really, really bad. He doesn't want to be there. It's not that it's bad. It's just you can tell he'd rather be anywhere but there. What else can I say about this movie? It's a very, very forgettable movie. I would say Charles Gray's Blofeld isn't great. Yeah, it's the first Guy Hamilton one, and I would say Guy Hamilton's actually one of my favourite Bond directors. But yeah, it's just a whole lot of nothing, I think. The action isn't that thrilling. You've got that scene with the car where it goes in to the alleyway on two wheels like that, and then comes out on the other two wheels. So what they did in this version of the movie, I think it's on this version anyway, is because obviously that's an inconsistency, it goes on the two wheels and comes out in the other. They added a scene when he's in the tight alleyway of the car flipping round, which makes the scene even worse because there's no possible way that that could ever happen. So that they're just like, they're in the alleyway, a very tight alleyway, an alleyway where they need to be on two wheels to get in it, and they just go like this. And it's the most dumb, like, trying to correct a mistake but making it an even bigger mistake ever done in film history. But yeah, that's Diamonds Are Forever. Definitely the worst film I think we've talked about so far. Next we have Roger Moore's first Bond film, and that is Live and Let Die. Great poster. Roger Moore's actually one of my favourite Bonds. I have to say, I really like Roger Moore. I love the cheesiness that comes along with it. This is this Guy Hamilton? Yeah, Guy Hamilton again. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting film, this, with the whole kind of circus and voodoo kind of aspects and tarot cards and stuff. Really, really interesting movie, great concept. Roger Moore isn't his best in this film. Again, I always feel like the first time they play Bond, bar Daniel Craig, I would say, the first, or Pierce Brosnan, maybe I'm talking crap, but definitely for the early Bonds, the first time they play Bond, they aren't the best. They're trying to work out what the role is, kind of, and yeah, he's not the best here, but he still gives a good performance, and there's really good action in this film. Not one of my favourites, not one of my least favourites, in the middle again for that one. Coming in next is a guilty pleasure, I have to say. The Man with the Golden Gun. One of my favourite villains, Scaramanga, played by the wonderful Christopher Lee. Roger Moore gives a much better performance in this one, I think. And it's just, this is where Bond started to just go cheesy. Like, it started to just go, right, we don't really care anymore. Let's just go as cheesy as we can. And you get the Man with the Golden Gun. Nick Nack is a load of fun. I think that's his name. Is it Nick Nack? The wee guy. Nick Nack. Yeah, the setting of it's Bangkok they're in this one, isn't it? Yeah, Bangkok. I'm pretty sure. Is a lot of fun, and then Scaramanga's island base is awesome. Yeah, I just really have a lot of fun with this film. Yeah, I would actually put it pretty high. Not like incredibly high, but pretty high on my ranking. I have a lot of fun with this movie. Yeah, and another Guy Hamilton film. So I'll show you the front, back. I really like that poster, by the way. And then once again, the inside. Man with the Golden Gun. Look, I can't speak. The Man with the Golden Gun. It's surprisingly a lot of fun. Now we move on to one of my favourite Bond films, and it's quite cliched, I would say, to call this one of your favourite Bond films. Because who doesn't love this Bond film? Like Bond fans, this is always in their top 5, top 3 sometimes. The Spy Who Loved Me. It's just such a brilliant movie. The villain's great. It's the first introduction to Jaws, probably the best henchman in a Bond film. This is Roger Moore's best performance by far. There's the front. There's the back. I would actually say this is my favourite performance an actor's ever given as Bond. I really, really love the performance in this. Maybe bar Casino Royale with Daniel Craig. I really love the performance in this. It's another Guy Hamilton. No, this is Lewis Gilbert. Lewis Gilbert directed this. I always thought this was Guy Hamilton. You've got so many iconic moments in this with Jaws, as I've said. The underwater car is a big iconic moment in Bond. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, this film. And I think the romance, the whole Russian and British romance that they go for in this film works really well. It's one of the best romances, I would say, in a Bond movie. It's really well done. Okay, cheesy fun. A lot of people don't like this film. So, they were originally going to do For Your Eyes Only as the next Bond film. But they decided to do this movie instead, simply because Star Wars had just happened and they needed to cash in. So they did Moonraker. Now, this is meant to be the best Ian Fleming book. The film's dumb. The film is really dumb. I think Hugo Drax is a great villain, don't get me wrong. I think he's actually one of my favourite villains. You've got Jaws back, always a lot of fun to see Jaws. The whole romance thing with Jaws is so dumb, but it's like fun to laugh at. Roger Moore gives a decent performance, but it is the going into space and laser battles and stuff that bring this film down a peg. I actually think everything on Earth is great, and then when they go into space, it's fun, it's dumb, it's so cheesy, but it should be in a Bond movie. So yeah, that is Moonraker. I'll show you the front there, back. Pop this open. Yeah, and I really like the front, actually. Once again, the fronts are always actually really nice on the Roger Moore ones. Coming in next is probably my favourite cover, and probably my second favourite Roger Moore Bond movie, For Your Eyes Only. Now, they changed composer, didn't they? John Barry left for this film. He wasn't available or something like that, and they got Bill Conti in. Bill Conti is one of my favourite composers, done the Karate Kid, done the Rocky movies, and this film has one of my favourite Bond scores, I have to say. And the movie, so much fun. The start is dumb. The start is so dumb. It's got like a, what do they call it? Like the openings before the credits, and the pre-credits scene is a totally different like story to the rest of the film. It is so stupid, it's unreal. Is it cold opens? Is that what you call them, cold opens? But the rest of the film is really, really fun. Roger Moore gives a great performance. One of his darker performances as Bond, I think. It's probably the darkest we've ever seen. Bond. John Glenn directed this, which is maybe why. Who directed Moonraker, by the way? Lewis Gilbert again. Okay. John Glenn. I think this is the only Bond film, maybe bar the next one, that John Glenn got. And yeah, he gives a much darker performance. He lets Roger Moore give a much darker performance, which apparently Roger Moore didn't like. He liked playing cheesy Bond, but this is a lot darker. Yeah, I really love that. I really love the front, the back, inside's always the same. But yeah, For Your Eyes Only, it's actually a really, really good film. Coming in next is Octopussy. Love the front cover, have to say. Love the back and the inside. However, it's one of my least favourite. It has to be said, it's not a good film. The next two Roger Moore films aren't good films. He was getting too old for the role at this point. I think he was in his 50s here, which is too old. He might have even been verging on 60. He was getting too old. It was obvious. He was not moving like he used to. The film's dumb. It's John Glenn again directing. John Barry back as composer. It can be fun. There's a really cool airplane bit where he goes into a hangar, flies out the other end, and there's a missile following him, and the hangar blows up. That's pretty cool. But you've got a scene where he swings on a rope and they play the Tarzan noise, stuff like that, which is just incredibly dumb. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Octopussy, I have to say. It's one of my least favourites. And then we have my least favourite Bond film of all time. A View to a Kill. Now, I will say, again, the front is awesome, back's awesome, inside's just the same. I really actually like the front cover of this. It might be my favourite Roger Moore cover bar For Your Eyes Only. The film is so terrible, it's unreal. A really terrible movie. I love the Paris setting. I love the scenes on the Eiffel Tower. Don't get me wrong, they're pretty cool. Roger Moore is far too old. He's slowly walking through every scene. Christopher Walken's pretty fun. The film is just boring. That's the bottom line with this one. It's just a boring movie. That's all I really have to say. It's just incredibly boring. Yeah, I don't think I'd even rewatch this if I watched through the Bond films. I would if I had to. If I was watching it with someone, I'd have them watch it because they might enjoy it. But if I was watching them on my own, I think I'd skip this. Yeah, it's just a very boring film. For the setting and for the villains, and it should have been better. It just never got a great script. Who directed that one out of interest? Does it tell me in the back? John Glenn again. Okay, moving on and changing up Bond. We have The Living Daylights. Sorry, it's one of my favourite Bond themes. The film's actually pretty decent. It's a pretty decent film by Timothy Dalton. I actually think it's, out of the two Timothy Dalton ones, I prefer this one. Ever so slightly. I love the car. I can't remember. It's an Aston Martin. I can't remember, but I love the car in this film. You actually see it in No Time to Die when he goes to... I'm pretty sure it's the same car. It's like a little callback when he goes to the hangar. Not hangar. In his like garage, and the car's there. You see the same car in this film, which is a pretty cool callback. Timothy Dalton gives us a much darker Bond, which I really like, a darker Bond. The character in the books are meant to be a lot darker. I think Bond suits a much darker personality, and that's what Timothy Dalton gave us. A lot of people say Timothy Dalton is the most similar to the Bond in the books. But yeah, this film's really good. Directed by John Glenn again. John Glenn did a lot of these movies. Yeah, I actually really like this film. And then Timothy Dalton's second and sadly final Bond film, directed once again by John Glenn, License to Kill. A lot of people prefer this one. I prefer The Living Daylights, but this is still a good film. Love the front. Front's awesome. Back. Pop it open. One of the only Bond films to be rated 15. I think that's because somebody's head explodes in it. But yeah, again, it's a lot of fun. A darker Bond. This one has a really, really good villain. I'm pretty sure is it Benicio del Toro? Oh, please don't tell me I'm talking rubbish. Oh, I may be talking totally rubbish here. I'm sure Benicio del Toro plays the bad guy in this. Okay, I might be totally wrong there. I'm pretty sure it's Benicio del Toro that plays the bad guy in this. Sorry, I'm looking at the back to see if I can see anything. I may be talking rubbish, but I'm pretty sure Benicio del Toro is in this, and he gives a great performance as a villain. The film's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Timothy Dalton's great. Yeah, it's a fun film. I would say around the middle again of my list, maybe slightly towards the good end of the list. Yeah, great film. Now, moving on to my favourite Bond and favourite Bond film. Goldeneye, starring Pierce Brosnan. This film is fantastic. 10 out of 10 from me. Love the front. Love the back. Pop it open, show you the inside. You know what to expect. Every performance in this film is great. The best Bond director, in my opinion, Martin Campbell, who's only done 2 Bond films, but done my top 2 favourite Bond films, directs this fantastically. He really gets Bond. I really hope he directs the next one. I doubt it, but I really hope he kickstart the next Bond's tenure, because he's kickstarted Pierce Brosnan's, kickstarted Daniel Craig's. Really hope he kickstarts the next one. The This film is fantastic. I'm not going to say much about it because I think you better just go in not knowing much about it. It's so good. All the performances are great. There's a twist that's awesome. The action is the best we've ever seen in Bond. I love this movie. Coming in next, we have Tomorrow Never Dies, if I can remember the title of it. It's the most forgettable Pierce Brosnan film, but still a lot of fun. You've got the whole sequence with the BMW where he's controlling it with his phone. That's awesome. Pretty sure you get a cool helicopter motorbike chase. That's fun. The only thing that lets this film down is Jonathan Pryce's villain. It's basically just Bill Gates or Steve Jobs as a villain. It's not the most imaginative villain in the world, and I heard this had a lot of production issues. It's directed by Roger Spottiswoode, who only did this one. I'm pretty sure he didn't direct the next one, did he? No, this is the only Bond film he did. It had a lot of production issues, so I can kind of forgive it, but it's not one of the best. But I still think Pierce Brosnan gives a great performance as Bond. Coming in next is actually one of my favourite Bond films, and the Bond film I would, bar on Her Majesty's Secret Service, this is the Bond film I'd call the most underrated, and that is The World Is Not Enough. And there's a front and back there. There's the inside. I love this movie. It's got a great concept, which I'm not going to spoil in case you haven't seen it, because there's a massive twist in this film, which is awesome. And the concept of this film is great. It opens with one of the best opening scenes with the boat chase. One of the best opening scenes. Pierce Brosnan gives a great performance. I just love this movie. I would really recommend checking this film out. Even if you haven't seen the rest of the Bond films, you can kind of watch them all on their own, bar the Daniel Craig ones. This one I would really recommend. It's a lot of fun. Just dumb action fun, which is sometimes what you need from a Bond film. Speaking of dumb action fun, Die Another Day. Yes, I can admit this film is pretty bad, but it's pretty fun. It's so dumb. Once again, I think Pierce Brosnan's getting slightly too old for the role. It's directed by Lee Tamahori, who shouldn't have directed a Bond film. He didn't have the right vision to direct a Bond film. He was very over the top. Think about if Michael Bay directed a Bond film. This is what you'd get. It's so over the top, it's unreal. But there are aspects I really love. The invisible car, I can actually get behind. I actually don't mind the invisible car. It's actually pretty fun. I like how you get an underwater car and folk are so happy with it, yet you get a invisible car and folk are so angry with it. I know an underwater car is more realistic, but it's Bond. You can get a bit dumb every now and then. But yeah, I can admit this film's not very good. Halle Berry plays an alright Bond girl, Rosamund Pike, who would later go on to spoof herself in Johnny English Reborn, which is a bit strange. What else? The Ice Palace is pretty awesome. It's got one of the worst Bond themes ever. Madonna's Die Another Day is terrible. What else can I say about this film? The villain's pretty forgettable. I can't remember who played him. Toby Stevens. Pretty terrible villain. But yeah, it's dumb but fun. I'll leave it at that. Probably like a 5 out of 10 film for me. Okay. Casino Royale. My second favourite Bond film. Martin Campbell. Fantastic movie. There's the front. There's the back. There's the inside right there. Fantastic movie. Absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to say much more about it. Daniel Craig suits the role down to a T. Judi Dench is brilliant. Is it Eva Green who plays? Eva Green plays... oh no, your second favourite Bond movie, Jack, and you've forgotten Vesper Lynd. Oh, that was bad. Vesper Lynd. Fantastically. Mads Mikkelsen, Le Chiffre, one of the best Bond villains ever. yeah, it's just such a fantastic film. I would really recommend, I would actually recommend your first Bond film to be this. Not Doctor No, surprisingly. I would recommend you start with Casino Royale. Coming in next is a film I do defend, actually, and that is Quantum of Solace. Yeah, it only works if you've seen Casino Royale, but as a sequel to Casino Royale, it works pretty well. The action's a lot of fun. The editing could have done with a bit of work, but I'll give it a break, seeing as there was a strike, and basically Daniel Craig, I don't know, oh no, it was a writer's strike. There was a writer's strike, and Daniel Craig and Mark Forster, the director, wrote this film. So you can give it a break if there's bits of dialogue that isn't the best, or I don't know, it's a bit cliched, whatever. It was Daniel Craig's first attempt at writing a Bond film. But yeah, there was a writer's strike, so it's not the Bond writers who are writing this movie. And I can kind of understand why it was a total sequel to Casino Royale, because it's nice to have a basis. But yeah, a lot of fun. The editing is pretty terrible, as I just said. Could have done with a lot of work. But yeah, I actually have a lot of fun with this film. I think the Opera House scene is one of the best scenes in a Bond movie. I love it. I love the setting of it. Yeah, I would really recommend watching this after Casino Royale. Do not watch this on its own, or you'll be so lost, it's unreal. This is where the packaging changes. We have Skyfall. They didn't continue the same packaging they were doing after Quantum of Solace, so we had to change up the packaging, sadly. So there's Skyfall, there's the back. It's got the same disc, which is strange. Same disc, but not the same packaging. Skyfall's brilliant. Listen to what everyone else says about it. It's brilliant. Daniel Craig gives maybe his best performance in the role. Oh, I don't know if that's controversial to say. I would actually say it's probably his best performance in the role. Yeah, really, really great film. Really focused on Bond becoming older and times moving forward. And it's a perfect send-off to Judi Dench's and Javier, is it Javier Bardem that's in this? Yes, Javier Bardem's Silva is a fantastic villain. Coming in next is my least favourite Craig Bond film, and that is Spectre. I think the opening's awesome. I really do think the opening is great. There we go, I've got to change the disc. The opening of this film is great. Set during the Day of the Dead festival parade thing. That's awesome. Then the film goes downhill when it actually tries to get a plot. It tries to tie in everything from the previous 3 films, which doesn't work. It does a twist which Austin Powers parodied literally 10 years, 15 years before this film came out. Austin Powers took the total mick out of a twist like that, and this film just does it. Yeah, it's not the best. It's not terrible. The action's pretty awesome. It's Sam Mendes, so obviously the action is going to be so great. I think there's a train sequence with Dave Bautista, which is awesome. There's a car chase, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's a pretty fun action film. I wouldn't say it's a great Bond film. A bit too convoluted for its own good. And the most recent addition to the Bond franchise, Daniel Craig's last film, No Time to Die. There's the front, we've got the back there. Pop this open. 2 discs in this one, 2 discs. There's the first disc. I think they're both the same, yeah. Both the same. Second disc. I loved this movie. Absolutely adored it. I think it was a fantastic end to Daniel Craig's Bond. The action is so much fun, especially the whole beginning of the film with a car chase through, I can't remember where they are. Jamaica. No, it's not Jamaica. Jamaica's later on in the film. There is I can't remember where they are, but there's an awesome car chase through a city. Is it Venice? Venice. I might be so wrong. But yeah, there's an awesome car chase through, I think it's Venice. I think all the performances are great in this movie. Rami Malek was a decent villain. I think he could have done a lot more. I think the writing for him was a little off. But that's the only big complaint I have about this film. I think the score to this movie is awesome. And maybe that is because it is scored by Hans Zimmer. So obviously it's going to be great. And Daniel Craig's second best Bond performance, along with Casino Royale, I would say. He's really good, and I think it's good that he tied it all up here and left it when he did, because he's getting on a bit as well. I think the prime time to play Bond is kind of 30s to late 40s, and I think he's just early 50s. But yeah, I think this is a fantastic film. Okay, that was my complete James Bond collection. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. More videos coming very, very soon, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.